This video may contain offensive language and be frightening to some viewers. Viewer discretion is recommended. This is Helen, 14 years old. The dark circles under his eyes felt as if he had never slept enough. He doesn't care about his messy black hair, since he doesn't like to put too much effort into tidying himself up. It's unnecessary. His seat is at the back of the classroom, next to the window. He always sits there, drawing quietly, as it is like everything to him. He doesn't like to socialise with people, making him a lonely one. There was a person being pushed to the floor after school. That's Tom, who is always the victim of bullying, not because he did anything before, it's just the dislikes of people around him. These things happen often, and Helen is used to it. Though he does feel bad for Tom, he doesn't want to interfere, as it is quite bothersome. During recess, Judy says she is missing her watch, as she searches for it. Helen doesn't help her, since it's none of his business. Suddenly, someone sees something flashing in Helen's bag. "What's this?" Ben says, as he puts his hand into the bag and takes out a watch that is trimmed with fake diamonds. Helen is very surprised to see it, as he does not know how it got in there. "Ah, that's my watch." Judy takes the watch from Ben after seeing the situation. Both of them stare at Helen with a weird glare. "It wasn't me," says Helen, who is still drawing in his notebook without raising his head a bit. "Yeah, right." Judy leaves the classroom with Ben as she concludes. The following day, as usual, Helen is sitting at his table drawing. He notices that the atmosphere doesn't feel right around him. People start whispering about him, and even a few start calling him thief. He doesn't decide to explain for himself, as he knows there's no point in it. It'd be useless to do so. As time passes, Helen becomes the new target, a victim for people to bully. Everything he does now is being exaggerated. He doesn't like it, but he doesn't resist.
I don't like him.
He keeps his feelings in his heart, keeping silent.
I hate him. Yeah, me too.
Until one day, Ben came up to him and snatched his notebook with his unfinished drawings in it. "Always doing these meaningless things," says Ben as he tears down a few pages of the drawings, tearing them into little pieces, wanting to see Helen's reaction. At this rate, the feelings he had been holding burst out. He punches Ben in the face and starts the fight. Helen isn't that strong, however, so he was beaten up in no time. Other students went to see the fight without stopping it. Some people even joined in and kicked him in his face and stomach. Right after the bell rings, everyone stops what they're doing and went back to their seats before the teacher came. Helen returns to his seat as if nothing happened. The teacher enters the room later on. "Oh my, Helen, what happened?" Helen has so many visible bruises on him that the teacher notices right after she enters the room. Everybody turns to look at him, waiting for him to give a response, while glaring at him with a murderous look. "He fell from the stairs, miss," Helen replies as the glares disappear. After returning home from school, his parents also ask him what happened, and he responds with the same answer. The blue jacket he is wearing covers all the bruises other than the ones on his face. His parents believe it without doubts. Usually when Helen's parents ask him about how he is at school, he always says he's fine. He even lied about making a lot of friends, living happily every day. Helen refuses to tell his parents the truth, since he doesn't want to make his parents worry about him. A few months later, he has gotten used to the negative comments about him, and getting hit or humiliated has been a normal event for him. He is completely immune to these things now. Who framed him in the first place? Why did the culprit do this? This doesn't matter anymore. Nothing matters anymore now. Hi, you there? Helen receives a message from an unknown user on Facebook. Who are you? He replies. I'm Tom, your classmate. Tom has never interacted with him before. This surprised him a bit. What is it? Helen says. Are you alright? It's none of your business, Helen concludes Tom's question. Tom types for a while before coming up with, Listen, I know how you feel right now. You're in the same situation as I am. I really want to help you, but I can't. Sorry. Afterwards, Tom and Helen text each other for a long time, and Helen feels much better after telling him all the pain and the feelings he has been through. He can even joke around with Tom, often using smiley faces to show his happiness. This is the first time he thinks he has made a friend. It's in the afternoon, and the weather is unusually warm. Come meet me on the roof after the first period in the afternoon. We need to talk, don't ask me why. Texted Tom last night. Following his instructions, Helen meets Tom on the roof, waving his hand and walking towards him as he says, Hey Tom, what's up my friend? I have something to say. Something important, says Tom with a serious face. Remember the watch thieving incident? How could Helen forget about it? That was how he started suffering. Helen nods to show he remembers. I was the culprit. Tom looked down, scared to look into his eyes. What? Helen is shocked. I stole Judy's watch and framed you as the culprit. Why did you do this? With you as the new target, the victim, my life is much better now. Tom smirks. Can't you see that? It's true, however, that when everyone decides to bully Helen, they won't bother Tom anymore. He's just like an abandoned toy. For him, that is totally perfect. As long as he keeps silent, he will be able to live his school life safe and sound. He succeeded. The plan was outstandingly perfect. Helen stood there silently, feeling betrayed and angry. He grabs the collar of Tom's shirt, and after pushing him around a bit, they end up near the edge of the roof. Both struggling in the fight, Tom slips and falls from the roof. Helen instantly grabs his hand and tries to pull him back up. But Helen does not have much strength. He tries as hard as he can to not let go, but his grip on Tom is loosening. I'm so sorry, Helen. Tom falls. Helen closes his eyes, scared to look at what's going to happen. He cannot imagine what will happen to one after falling from a 6-story tall building. The sickening thud of Tom's body hitting the pavement will haunt him forever. After the police arrive, they have an interview with Helen. He was too horrified by the incident, however, to say even a word. Once again, Helen becomes the topic of discussion between students. Some people think Helen pushed Tom from the roof, but most of the others think that Tom committed suicide, and Helen failed saving him.
It's no wonder, really.
Because they saw him grabbing Tom's hand before he fell. That night, Helen was in his room crying, shivering, and he cannot stop the guilt from growing inside of him. He needs to calm down, and suddenly a thought flashed in his mind. It's not my fault that Tom died. He deserves to die. This makes him feel much better, and his guiltiness fades away too. Helen creepily smiles. Tom has had his punishment. I suppose it's time for others to have theirs, isn't it? His cries turn into laughter in the dark. Helen's classmates decide to have a party on the day of Halloween. But it's not to celebrate Halloween, it's just to have their friends come together to party. Of course, Helen is not invited to the party. The night before the day of Halloween, Judy and Maggie were messaging each other on Facebook. Both of them live in the school dorm, and Judy's room is next to Maggie's. 9:03, Judy. Who's gonna come to tomorrow's party? I'm so excited, smiley face. 9:03, Maggie. Most of our class will be there, but I texted Ben so many times, and even though all the messages I sent are read, he just never replies to me. The hell's wrong with him? 9:04, Judy. He's probably just working, I guess. 9:06, Maggie. Something weird is happening. I've been hearing footsteps coming from outside my door for a long time now. I think someone's walking around the dorm. 9:06, Maggie. Wait, I'll go check. Looking through the hole in the door, Maggie saw something unusual. 9:07, Maggie. Oh my god, there's a guy outside. He's wearing a mask and a blue jacket, and he's holding a knife, and he's all bloody. 9:07, Maggie. Fuck. He's knocking on my door now. 9:08, Maggie. Oh god, oh god, oh god. 9:08, Judy. Just calm down and find a weapon or something. 9:08, Judy. Protect yourself. 9:09, Maggie. He's turning the doorknob. Good thing I locked it. 9:09, Maggie. I'm scared. 9:09, Judy. Maggie? 9:09, Maggie. What should I do? 9:09, Judy. Maggie, listen. 9:09, Maggie. Save me. 9:09, Judy. Maggie, calm down. 9:09, Judy. Maggie? 9:10, Judy. Maggie? 9:10, Judy. You there? The message is shown as read, but Judy doesn't see Maggie's response. Suddenly, Judy hears the sound of her room door opening. The instant she turns around, she feels a terrible pain in her stomach. A bloody person who is wearing a mask and a blue jacket is standing behind her, holding a knife dripping with blood. Her blood. That night, all of the students who were in the dorm were murdered. No one knows how the killer did it. The murderer used the victim's blood to paint on the walls of the dorm, with most of the paintings being of a smiley face. Many of the corpses had been chopped up and mashed, possibly to get more pigment. Helen Ortis, the culprit, is still currently missing. However, in the chat room where Judy and Maggie texted each other, a message was written that responded to Judy's first message at 9:03. 11:15. Judy. Don't be excited about tomorrow, smiley face, because there will be no tomorrow. He started to crawl backwards away from her, not able to break eye contact he held with her blank, dead eyes. He dragged himself backwards until he backed up into something. He stopped for a second. Everything was dead silent, except for his heavy breathing and crying. He slowly looked up to meet the blank face of a tall, dark figure that stood over him.